Let me describe two people. Same city, same job title, salaries, so close you wouldn't even notice the difference. Person A has $340,000 in investments at 36. Person B has $11,000 and a $780 monthly car payment he secretly regrets every time he turns the key. They're not smarter, not luckier. The difference: 10 habits, so unglamorous, so deeply unsexy, that most people skip them entirely while waiting for the thing that actually moves the needle. Here's the truth that's going to frustrate you. The real secret is embarrassingly simple. But in the next 12 minutes, I am going to show you why 80% of people will never do it and how you can start today. Let me first blow up 3 myths that are keeping you stuck. Myth 1, I need a higher income to build wealth. Bullshit. Ramsey Solutions surveyed over 10,000 regular American millionaires. 1/3 never made 6 figures in a single year, not once. The top career, among them, engineer. Second, accountant. Not crypto, bro. Not tech founder, accountant. They took a median of 28 years, not by finding the thing, but by doing boring stuff while compound interest did the heavy lifting. Myth 2, I need to find the right investment. No, you don't. The S&P 500 has returned about 10% annually over the last century. A monkey throwing darts at a list of stocks would eventually beat a professional fund manager half the time. But here's the kicker. After 15 years, 0 categories of professional active fund managers beat their benchmarks. 0. People with Bloomberg terminals, research teams, decades of experience. They can't do it consistently. So what makes you think you can? Myth 3, I just need more discipline. Stop it. Discipline is a finite resource. You know what works better? Removing the decision entirely. Vanguard's 2025 data found that retirement plans with automatic enrollment hit 94% participation. Voluntary enrollment, 64%. That 30-point gap isn't about willpower. It's about default settings. When saving becomes a choice, your brain has to fight against wanting something right now versus something abstract in 30 years. And the future loses almost every time. So if income, stock picking, and discipline aren't the answer, what is? Let me put it this way. Imagine you're making chili in a slow cooker. You throw in beans, meat, spices, then you walk away. You don't stand there stirring every 5 minutes. You don't open the lid to check on it. You just let the heat do its job. 8 hours later, it's incredible. That's compound interest. But most people treat their money like a stir fry. They're constantly flipping, adding hot sauce, changing the temperature. They buy a stock, sell it 2 months later. They jump into crypto because a coworker won't shut up about it. They check their 401k every time the market drops and feel sick. Here's the metaphor that actually matters. Your financial life is not a microwave. It's a crockpot. You set it up once, then you get the hell out of the kitchen. And yet, here's where 90% of people screw up. They know this, they've heard it before, but they still can. Stop tinkering. Why? Because the financial industry makes billions convincing you that you're missing out. That there's a secret strategy that this time is different. But you thought setting up automatic savings was enough, right? That's step 1. Wait until I show you step 5. The one that most people ignore until they've already lost a decade. Let me give you the exact framework. These are not theories. These are behaviors that real janitors, secretaries, and accountants used to become millionaires. And you can copy them starting tonight. Habit 1. Automate your savings before your brain gets involved. Grace Groner was a secretary at Abbott Laboratories in 1935. She bought 3 shares of Abbott stock for $180, set up automatic dividend reinvestment, and then did absolutely nothing. She lived in a 1-bedroom cottage, shopped at rummage sales, didn't own a car. When she died in 2010 at age 100, those 3 shares had compounded into $7.2 million. Here's what you do tonight. Log into your 401k or IRA. Set the contribution to hit on payday. Not the day after, not whenever. I remember on payday. Then set up an automatic transfer from your checking to a brokerage account for the same day. Even $50 per Pascal White check. The money moves before you see it. Your brain never has to fight the urge to spend it. Research shows people demand 277% annual returns just to delay gratification by 3 months. You are not going to outdiscipline that, so don't try, automate. Habit 2. Drive something paid off and slightly embarrassing. The average new car payment is now $748 a month. Dealerships make that feel manageable by stretching loans from 4 years to 6, from 6 to 7. There are 10-year car loans now. Let that sink in. A 10-year loan on something that loses half its value in 3 years. That $748 monthly payment invested in an S&P 500 index fund at 10% for 30 years becomes $1.69 million. Instead, most people have a 2024 truck with heated seats and a calendar reminder for an oil change. Ronald Red was a gas station attendant and a janitor. He drove a used Toyota Yaris and pinned his jacket shut because it was fraying. When he died in 2014, he left $8 million to his local hospital and library. The Yaris was his limitation. It was evidence that he understood something most people don't. The car payment is the most expensive status symbol in America. You think you're done with the car habit? Wait until you hear what DoorDash is costing you. That S next, and it S even worse. Habit 3. Cook at home like your retirement depends on it. Let S check back on Marcus and Derek. Marcus runs his slow cooker twice a week, spends about $80 at the grocery store, eats most meals at home. Derek orders DoorDash 4 nights a week, hits a restaurant Friday, grabs lunch near the office daily because packing something takes 15 minutes he does. Have. Derek spends roughly $900 a month on food. Marcus spends $420. That $480 monthly gap invested at 10% for 25 years is approximately $630,000. From a slow cooker and a slightly boring lunch. Americans now spend 55% of their food budget away from home, a record high. A home-cooked meal averages $5 per serving. A restaurant meal averages $23. Millionaires in that Ramsey study spent $412 a month on groceries and $200 eating out, a 2-to-1 ratio, favoring the kitchen. The national average is the exact inverse. Nobody frames this as a wealth decision because it feels too small. It's just dinner. But Tuesday, compounded over 25 years, is $630,000. One slow cooker at a time. Habit 4. Buy less house than the bank will let you the bank. S job is not to tell you what you can comfortably afford. The bank's job is to give you the maximum loan it believes you won't immediately default on. Those are two completely different numbers. A household earning $100,000 that keeps housing at 25% of income instead of 35% frees up $10,000 a year. At 10% over 30 years, that's $1.8 million. Not from a better investment, from buying the second best house instead of the best one. Thomas Stanley studied this for decades. Wealthy accumulators consistently lived in neighborhoods where they were not the richest person on the block. Their houses left them margin. The high earners who looked wealthy often had spectacular homes and almost nothing else. The house wasn't the reward. It was the reason they had nothing else. You might be thinking, okay, I get it. Cook more, drive less, buy cheaper house. My parents told me this, and you're right, it's not new. But here, what your parents didn't. Tell you only 51% of American adults spent less than they earned in 2024. More than half the country is breaking even or going backwards. Not because they don't know this stuff, but because there's an entire industry worth hundreds of billions designed to make the opposite feel rational. That industry lives in Habit 5. Habit 5, track every dollar, like it has somewhere better to be. 86% of Americans say they budget. 84% of those people regularly exceed their budget. That's not budgeting. That's having a number you feel guilty about after the fact, which does absolutely nothing. Tracking isn't about restriction, it's about information. When you see where the money goes, you notice trades you didn't know you were making. The $340 a month in subscriptions you forgot about. The $600 in miscellaneous, that's entirely convenience fees, the $180 in bank fees on an account you should have switched out of years ago. You cannot make strategic decisions about money you're not looking at. Most people aren't looking, and they find out because the number at the end of the month is always smaller than it should be, and they can never quite explain why. Tracking explains why. Use an app like YNAB or Mint or just a spreadsheet, but do it for 30 days. You'll be horrified, and that horror is the beginning of freedom. But tracking only helps if you actually have money coming in that you can redirect. So what do you do when you get a raise? Most people screw this up. Here, the fix. Habit 6. Invest every raise before your lifestyle knows about it. You get a $5,000 raise. Take home goes up maybe $300 a month. Within 90 days, your spending has a $300 upgrade. Nicer apartment, more convenient parking, lunch out instead of pack. You can't even name the specific thing. The money just gets absorbed. This is called hedonic adaptation. Your brain makes every new baseline feel normal in about 3 months. That $200 dinner is special the first time. By the 15th time, it's just a Tuesday that costs $200. The fix is insultingly simple. The moment a raise is confirmed, before your first new paycheck arrives, increase your automated retirement contribution. Your lifestyle never learns what it was supposed to get. It can't miss it. Investing half of a $5,000 raise every year for 20 years at 10% compounds to $157,000. The full raise, $315,000. From telling your bank account before you tell your lifestyle. Habit 7. Buy index funds, and then do literally nothing. The most boring sentence in finance is also the one that statistically beats almost every alternative. Buy a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Automate contributions. Leave it completely alone. Here, what happens when people try to be smarter than that. Dalbar's 2025 report found the average equity investor earned 16.54% in 2024. The S&P 500 returned 28.48%. The gap? Investors predicted the market's direction correctly only 25% of quarters. Worse than a coin flip. These aren't amateurs being careless. These are people who are trying. And that trying cost them. The Spiva scorecard found that after 15 years, 0 categories of professional active fund managers beat their benchmarks. 0. People with Bloomberg terminals and decades of experience can't do it consistently. The strategy that beats most of them fits on a napkin, and it's embarrassing how well it works. The boring choice isn't the consolation prize. It is the strategy. But here's a question. What happens when the market drops 30%? Most people panic. That's why you need Habit 8 before you touch a single index fund. Habit 8. Build an emergency fund like something will go wrong, because it will. A 3 to -6 month emergency fund does compound. It does make a good headline. Nobody has ever posted about their high-yield savings account on Instagram. It's the least exciting financial product in existence. And it's the reason some people's financial lives survive contact with reality. And some people's don't. 37% of American adults in 2024 could cover a $400 emergency with cash. A blown tire, a copay, a dog that ate something on a Saturday. 1 in 3 adults puts that on a credit card at 22.3% interest. A $1,000 emergency paid at minimums cost $122 in interest, just to stay in place. Credit card balances hit a record $1.28 trillion by late 2025, up 66% since early 2021. Americans are financing emergencies at 22% while trying to build wealth at 10%. You cannot do both. The emergency is eating the investment. Open a high-yield savings account, Ally, Marcus, or any FDIC-insured option. Set up an automatic transfer of $50 a week. In 1 year, you have $2,600. In 2 years, you have a real buffer. And when the HVAC breaks, it's an inconvenience, not a crisis. Habit 9. Ignore every exciting financial opportunity that finds you. A Brazilian study tracked 1,600-day traders who persisted more than 300 days. Not casual experimenters, the committed ones. 97% lost money. Only 1.1% earned more than minimum wage. The FTC analyzed 70 MLM income disclosures and found approximately 99% of participants lose money when expenses are factored in. The brochure shows a beach. The math shows a bill. This habit isn't really about day trading or MLMs. It's about the broader pattern. The crypto play your coworker can stop mentioning. The real estate syndication from someone you've met twice. The stock tip from a brother-in-law who is statistically not different this time. The coaching program that will replace your income in 90 days for $2,997. All of them have the same architecture, a vivid story about the other side, and the statistics about the downside left entirely out of the conversation. The S&P 500 has never once pitched you on its returns. It just returns them year after year with zero hype. The rule: if someone is excited to bring you an opportunity, be proportionally skeptical. Genuine wealth building is boring to describe. If it sounds exciting, that's usually the warning label. Habit 10. Sleep on every major purchase for 72 hours. The average American spends $282 a month, $3,381 a year, on impulse purchases. 68% of social media impulse buyers regret at least one purchase. Not most of them, just one, but they've already forgotten about the other 30. Impulse desire has a half-life. The emotional urgency of a purchase drops significantly within 24 to 72 hours. That thing that felt like a need at 11 p.m. on Tuesday feels optional by Thursday morning. Studies show 60 to 70% of wish-listed items are never purchased. Most buying impulses don't survive, even mild friction. The 72-hour rule isn't willpower. It's a timer. You not saying no, you saying check back Friday. Most of the time, Friday arrives and the answer is no, by default. Without a fight. Cut impulse spending in half, $141 saved monthly, $1,690 annually. Invested at 10% for 25 years. Approximately $180,000 from a calendar and 3 days of patience. Let me tell you about two real people I ran the numbers on. Not Marcus and Derek. Let's call them Alex and Jordan. Alex is 34, works in marketing, drives a 2018 Honda that's been paid off for 2 years, has an automatic $200 transfer to a brokerage account every payday. Doesn't check it, doesn't brag about it. His 401k is set to increase by 1% every January. He put that calendar reminder in 3 years ago and forgot about it. Last month, his water heater broke. He wrote a check for $1,200, didn't blink, and went back to his slow cooker chili. Jordan is also 34. Same industry. Actually makes $4,000 more per year. Drives a leased SUV with a $620 payment. Has 3 meal delivery apps on his phone's home screen. He bought $2,000 of a crypto token last year because everyone was talking about it. It's now worth $800. He's been meaning to set up his 401k for 18 months. Last month, his check engine light came on. He put the $900 repair on a credit card with 24% interest. He paying that off for 7 months. Here's the gap. Alex has about $87,000 saved and invested. Jordan has $4,200. Same age, same city, same industry. The only difference, about 15 small decisions per week that felt completely neutral at the time. And here's what neither of them will tell you. Alex doesn't feel rich. He feels fine, boring even. Jordan doesn't feel broke. He feels normal, stressed, but normal. That's the trap. The gap doesn't feel like a gap until you reach 55 and one of them is retiring to Portugal and the other is explaining to their boss why they need to work until 72. The median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 is $185,000. The number they actually need about $1.26 million. That's not a retirement. That's a 2-year runway. And it's happening to people who made decent money their whole careers, engineers, teachers, middle managers, who just never realized that their small treats were actually a mortgage on their future freedom. So no, these 10 habits are not about deprivation. They're not about becoming a frugal monk who reuses tea bags. They're about one thing, margin. The gap between what you earn and what you burn. The ability for a broken water heater to be an inconvenience instead of a crisis. The option to say no to a job you hate because your savings give you 6 months to breathe. The chance to retire while your knees still work. Grace Groner bought 3 shares of stock in 1935 and did nothing for 75 years. She died with $7.2 million. Ronald Read wore a safety pin jacket and drove a Yaris. Left $8 million to a hospital. Warren Buffett still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. They didn't have secret information. They didn't find the thing. They just let boring run long enough to become extraordinary. The compound effect does not require perfection. It doesn't require you to cut out coffee forever or never eat out again. It requires one thing, that you stop waiting for the exciting version of this to show up. The version with the app, the hack, the crypto moonshot, the passive income blueprint for $2,997. That version does not exist. This slow cooker, index fund, automatic transfer, 72-hour rule. This is the version. Pick one habit from this list. Do it this week, not all 10, just one. Set up that automatic transfer, cook 3 dinners at home, sleep on one purchase for 72 hours. Then, next month, add another. That's how a secretary with $180 becomes a millionaire. That's how a janitor leaves $8 million to a hospital. That's how you stop running on the hamster wheel and start letting the wheel run for you. If this video has helped you see these issues in a new light, not through sensationalist lenses, but with a more level-headed and practical perspective, please like and subscribe. Drop in the comments the one financial habit you're finally ready to automate. I'll find a way to make it boring. See you next time.